Welcome back to TW23 here on MUTV 23 Sports. Tonight we have a special guest with us, 23 Sports analyst Danny Shin joins the show. Danny, thank you so much for being here. Can you believe some of the recent news in the Mizzou basketball world?
You know, it's never too early to talk some Mizzou basketball. You know, this is the next generation of Mizzou Tigers, so very exciting time.
Okay, Danny, let's get right to it. As 1 week ago today, Kansas guard Lauren Aldridge announced her transfer to the University of Missouri. The guard started 63 games for the team in the past 2 years and has proven to be a reliable player for the Jayhawks. Although she will have to sit out next year according to NCAA rules, but with 2 years of eligibility under her belt, what does Aldridge bring to a talented young Tigers team that could help them reach the next level?
I think in the grand scheme of things for the Tigers, this is a great move. And if you look at her time with Kansas, like you said, she's been a reliable player. Last season, she led the Jayhawks in both points and assists, 11 points per game and 2 assists. But like you said, she will have to sit out next season. But I think that could be a good thing as well because this upcoming season, she can learn behind those senior point guards, Lindsey Cunningham and Leanna Doty. And a little fun fact as well, she also played AAU basketball with Sierra and Bree Porter. So she's a Missouri native. So she can help reestablish that chemistry as well as develop chemistry with players like Sophie Cunningham as well, So overall, I think this is a great move going forward for Coach Robin Pinchton and the Missouri Tigers.
Yeah, I like how you pointed out with Sophie, first of all, I like how you point out having senior guards over her that are going to able to guide her and teach her along the way how Missouri plays basketball. But I also like how you mentioned there at the end with Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham easily being one of the top 3 players for this Mizzou team this year. And now with her coming in, leading the team in points and assists, being able to join forces with Sophie Cunningham, that could really be dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, it's unfortunate she has to sit out the next 2 years, the next year. But with 2 years of eligibility, still a very young Tigers team. It'll be interesting to see. And like you said, she played with the Porters, and also she's originally from Missouri, so coming back home kind of helps set a spark. But on the other side, with the men's, Jakina Gant is deciding to transfer to Missouri next fall. The men's basketball team now has lost 4 players from this past season's roster. Gant wasn't really huge for this team, but they still lose the sense of experience and leadership. Granted, he's been here for 2 years. Do you think this will affect the team at all next year? Is it good? Is it bad?
This will have an impact on the team. In his meeting after the season with Coach Kim Anderson, he was committed to the team going forward, but unfortunately his mother in Georgia did fall ill. Best wishes to him, his mother, his family as well.
For sure.
But again, going back to basketball, this is a huge loss for them because he's another big body, and also he's the last recruit to leave from the 2004 from Kim Anderson's first recruiting class from 2014. Again, it's losing another big body, and next season, the 2 tallest players on the Tigers are going to be freshmen in Reed Nicko and Mitchell Smith. Again, they're unproven. They're freshmen. And then the next tallest player is going to be Russell Woods at 6'8", and Kevin Puryear at 6'7". So going into next season, the Tigers were already going to be undersized, and now with the loss of Gant, again, losing another big body and also leadership as well. He's been under Anderson the past 2 years. So, again, losing another big body and losing that experience as well, I think is going to have an impact on the Tigers next season.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, he didn't have too big of an impact on the team, only 5 points, 4 rebounds, but he did have a sense of commitment to this team. But now no players, like you said, no players from Kim Anderson's first recruiting classes here, kind of showing the state of the program as a whole. It's kind of, Frank Haith left this place quite literally in a dumpster fire. So obviously we're now still paying the repercussions.
Yeah, and some of those guys were Haith recruits as well. So.
Exactly.
True.
So obviously little craziness going on. We're kind of going to see how they can make up for that. And like you said, not too much height on the team. Rosberg is leaving. Obviously, Russell Woods, the tallest returning player, like you said, and only unproven freshmen left. So I don't know exactly how they're going to face that challenge.
It'll definitely be interesting to see what they can do next year, if they can bring home some more W's. But as college sports fans, we all know how important recruiting is in building a solid dynasty on campus. One thing Mizzou basketball doesn't do a great job of is recruiting. With a 4-star and 3-star recruits in Aaron Gordon and Chekna Demble coming to Mizzou next week. And how important is this visit? And also, how important is the recruiting process for Mizzou, considering their lackluster performances in recent years?
I think anytime Mizzou can get a 3- or 4-star recruit to come on an official visit to campus, I think that's immediately a step in the right direction. I'll start with Chekna Dembele. he has a strong list of schools in addition to Mizzou. He's already taken his first official visit with UNLV, Mizzou being his second next weekend. Just looking at the list right now, I would bet that schools like Michigan State and Syracuse would get official visits as well, just based on their coaches and taking into account everything else. And also he's a Pennsylvania kid, so I'm thinking maybe a school like Temple or St. Joe's would grab that last official visit as well. So I don't think Mizzou is going to get a commit right there on his official visit from Dembele. I think he's going to take some time before making his decision. But I think for Mizzou, I think that has to be he has to be their top priority because he's a big guy, 6'10", 235. He's a center. Again, with the loss of Gantz as well, he's another big body that the Tigers could use. And moving on to Gordon as well, I actually think Gordon is the more likely of the two to commit
really?
to the Tigers because really the only competition is Seton Hall. He took his official visit to the school in October. And really the only other competition is Marquette, but they seem to be running out of scholarships at the moment. And also Seton Hall may be focused on other guys as well. So Gordon may not necessarily be their top priority. So I think this is good for the Tigers going forward. And it's also going forward for Missouri in terms of recruiting. They're not sure about potential scholarship sanctions that may be handed down. So honestly, if Mizzou can only get one of the two guys to commit, they may just bite the bullet and next year make sure they have room. That next year, if they were to only take one, they would have 4 scholarships for next year, and that would leave room for the big recruit, which is 5-star guy Michael Porter. So they want to make sure they have room for him, and I think it would make sense for Kim Anderson and his coaching staff to let that Porter situation play out and make sure they have room for him and any other players that may potentially come with him going forward so they don't have to force anyone on the team right now out the door because of that.
Yeah, exactly right. A lot of questions surrounding the basketball team, you know, in terms of scholarships. What are they going to do? Hopefully they can keep space to try to get Michael Porter Jr. to come here.
Right.
I like what you said about the height of Dembele being 6'10". Mizzou basketball right now, they need height. Losing Rosberg,
That was tough.
being 6'10", you know, I didn't think we could get any smaller. So next year is going to be tough. So we'll see what happens. But
Definitely need as much height as we can get. for
exactly.
sure. Danny, thank you so much for coming on today. Definitely a lot of questions surrounding the basketball team both of them next winter, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Coming up next, we'll head to the dirt and see what the Mizzou softball and baseball team has been up to as a whole. Don't go anywhere. You're watching 23 Sports here on MUTV.